Hey everybody, this is Josh with Homesteading Family. Did you know that right now is the time to start your garden? Yeah, it's January. We've still got a ton of snow on the ground, but before we can ever plant seeds, there's a lot of work to do to get your garden going. So come on inside with me for a few minutes and I'm going to give you my 7 tips for starting your garden this year. All right, so every successful garden needs a plan. It's been said that if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So before we ever put seeds in the ground, we want to get started with creating a thorough plan for our garden that will ensure your success 6 months, 9 months down the road when it's time for that harvest. So, tip number 1 is location. Now, I know that's obvious. We need a place to put our gardens, but one thing that folks don't know is the wrong location is one of the largest factors in failed gardens, both for new gardeners and even sometimes seasoned gardeners moving into a new piece of property. And so that location is really important, and there's 2 tips that I want to give you regarding location. Most people will say, well, it needs to go in the sunniest spot possible. Yeah, that's often true. You need plenty of sun, but it does depend on your climate and your geographic location. If you're far north like we are, then we want the sunniest place we can get, hopefully a little southern exposure and southern slope. If you're in the deserts of Arizona or the Southwest somewhere, you may need a little bit of shade. And so you want to plan that accordingly. And it also depends on what you're growing. Some varieties, need cooler temperatures, cooler weather. They can tolerate more shade part of the day. Other varieties need full sun. So you really want to think about that location, and you want to be looking at your garden every year and how things are going, where you're planting things, and you may have to make adjustments. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to keep your garden space as close to your home as you can. I just can't even begin to stress that enough. The closer your garden is to your home, the more attention you're going to give it, the more engaged you're going to be, the more you're going to go out when you're cooking and you think, oh man, I've got some fresh tomatoes out there or whatever it is, that you're going to be willing to go out and harvest those vegetables and take care of that garden. If it's out of sight, it just kind of becomes out of mind and it's easy to let go. So bring that garden in as close to your home as possible. Tip number 2, map it. This is your plan. You want to have a good plan for your garden. And this does not have to be anything technical. You can find some free resources online. You can certainly buy some advanced resources. You can also just use some graph paper or even some regular ruled paper or printer paper. But sketch out your garden and where it's going to go. And lay out where you're going to plant the different varieties and create a plan. This is going to help you on the next step when it comes to buying seeds, making decisions, how much room you have, where you want to locate different varieties. And one of my tips here is to break your garden up and to get out of the box. We just have this vision of just these rectangular or square gardens out in the yard somewhere, and those are great. That can work just fine, but there are lots of niches and spaces that are great places. So look at your yard, maybe even sketch out a map of your yard or your property, and think creatively. In some of the old homesteads, the gardens were broken up, and you would have a kitchen garden that would be as close to the house as possible and as close to the kitchen as possible. And it would contain your culinary herbs, it would contain your medicinal herbs, it would contain a lot of the varieties that you would harvest regularly, a lot of your leafy greens, some of your cool season crops or your fall crops. and a lot of stuff that needed more attention and that you were going to interact with more regularly. And then there might be a larger main crop garden a little further out that you're only harvesting from a few times over the year, or some things like corn, once or twice over the year. And you can also find niches. You might find that a shady side of the house that just gets partial sun can help you grow lettuces right through the hot season. Different things like that, but you want to draw it out. So create a map. Don't worry about it being perfect and artistic, but try to make it somewhat to scale if you can, and draw out your ideas. And sometimes it takes 3 or 4 times. And again, you're mapping it, you're thinking about that location, you're thinking about how things went last year if you've been on your property for a few years, and if you want to adjust things, if you want to grow more corn or you want to grow more tomatoes, how are you going to do that? Map it out. It's going to give you a good visual. And as you do that year after year, it will really help you maximize your garden space and the efficiency of use with the space that you have. Alrighty. Number 3, order seeds. Now, we want to do this early. Carolyn and I have had a hard time getting our chosen varieties, even in February sometimes. So that's why it's important to get your location or locations situated, to map your garden, and to start picking your varieties and order your seeds early so that you can get what you want and they don't run out. Okay, so once your seeds are ordered, number 4 is our planting schedule. Don't leave this to chance, or just roughly put it in your mind that you're going to get out there and plant your seeds. Excuse me. You want to create a schedule, and if you're planting a wide variety of things, you're going to have some things that you're going to want to start indoors. There's things that can be started right now, even in the cold climate here, January and February, indoors to get you a jump on the season. You may have some lettuces and some cold season leafy greens that can get started very early outdoors. Even some of those beds we plant 2-3 times in the same bed sometimes, because a lot of our leafy greens grow up quick. We harvest them, we amend the soil a bit, and we do another set of planting. Then you're going to have your main crop planting that most of us think about, your tomatoes, your squash, your corn. But again, some of those you want to start inside. And a great aid for a planting schedule is this Clyde's Garden Planner. And we get ours from rareseeds.com. I've had this one for a few years. And what this planner does is it has a spring guide and a fall guide. And you find whatever your average first and last frost date is. And this can give you some planting guides for all your major garden varieties. So this Clyde's Garden Planner, it's an inexpensive tool. This is a couple bucks, and this can really help you with creating that planting schedule and help you make sure that you get everything in throughout the season. Okay, so we know where our garden's going. We've created a pretty good map to help us for planting. We've ordered our seeds, and we've created a planting schedule. So we've got it all laid out what we're going to do for the season. And you can even have a harvesting schedule in there. That guide that I was showing you, Clyde's, actually kind of gives you an idea when you can plan to start harvesting. That can help you with planning activities like canning and preserving as you move on to that in the season. So that planting schedule is very, very valuable. And number 5 starts to take us outside, and that is to prepare your soil. Now, we ask a lot of our soil every year. We're constantly mining nutrients. We're mining organic matter out of the soil So we've got to be giving back. And so you want to be thinking about how you're going to amend your soil this year. You should always be adding compost in. Where are you getting that compost? Hopefully it's an organic, a well-produced compost. I really want to encourage you to start composting on your own. And you have a lot of materials, even on a small urban lot or suburban lot, that you could even make at least some of your compost. And so it's very important to be getting that back into the soil. If you're going to be adding any fertilizer, hopefully it's an organic fertilizer. There are some great recipes to make your own that aren't super expensive, but you want to plan that out. Sometimes you have to reach around to a few sources to get everything you need for an organic fertilizer, so you want to plan that. And mulch, and really want to encourage you guys to keep your soil covered whenever possible. Other than deserts, which don't grow much, in the natural world, soil always has a blanket over it. If you look at a forest, if you look at a prairie, grasslands, there's always organic matter laying over the top of the soil as a blanket, and so we want to do the same. Hopefully you've done that in the wintertime and you've covered that soil. If you didn't, as soon as you get to your thaw, however you're going to prep your soil, whether you're tilling, layering, make sure you get prepared to add that mulch layer on top and take care of that soil. That's a lot of us are growing food, one, for independence, and two, for nutrition, and we have got to take care of our soil. Okay, number 6 on the list is an irrigation check. Getting kind of low on my board here. Anyways, so take some time to go through your irrigation system, whether you've got time sprinklers, manual sprinklers you're moving yourself, hoses, drip lines. Now is the time to start going through those things. Do you need to repair anything? Do you need to buy anything? Do you need to change your systems around? Were there things that weren't working last year? So you just want to have that all ready to go and have your water systems, at least all your materials there, so that as you start getting outside, you've got everything and you're just going to be able to get that set up. And lastly is tool prep. There's nothing like having your soil ready, having your seeds in hand, and planning a day to go out into the garden, and you get out there and you find a missing tool or you find a broken tool. So take the time now, as you're doing all these other steps, to check your tools. Is there anything you need to buy this year? Is there anything you need to repair? Do you need to sharpen your hose or any of your digging spades? So go through, do an inventory, and check out your tools. Well, with these 7 tips, you should be all ready when the weather warms up and planting time is upon you to get a successful garden going. So I hope that helps you out, and I wish you a very successful harvest in 2018. See you soon.